Hello, welcome back to the Palo Alto studio. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We are here for day 2 of the CMO Leaders Summit. We're here with NYSE Wired, Brian Bauman, and theCUBE. Abhay Parasnis is here, founder and CEO of Typeface, industry veteran. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us on the CMO Leaders here.
Great to be here, John.
First of all, congratulations. SiliconANGLE's been covering your venture. Hundreds of millions of dollars raised, congratulations. But you're in an area that's really hot right now, is as the world goes to AI, the rapid speed seems to be the consistent theme, whether you're talking about semiconductors all the way to the top of the stack, where the application tsunami is coming, where using data in storytelling is now not just creative, it's like you're seeing all the people saying storytelling's hot. This is kind of changing the game. Give us your take on how you see that market and developing and where you guys fit in.
Yeah, first of all, great to be here and congrats on all your success. Great to be here at this event. I think, to your point, there are really two fundamental vectors in my mind that are going on. One, this rapid, incredible pace of innovation of these large models and platforms, and every day, as you know, there's a new kind of a breakthrough that's driving step function change. But in some ways, I actually think that's only half of the story, because as they acquire all this global knowledge and these models become incredibly smarter, the next chapter is, how do companies actually bring that global knowledge, but then marry it with their own unique brand in your own voice and actually go deep and narrow? I always like to talk about the first wave of these AI platforms was about broad horizontal platforms. And now can you go deep and narrow with personalization, with storytelling, marrying with data? And if you can craft that extremely tailored voice using AI, that gives you incredible speed advantage, but then actually gives you a personalization advantage. And those are the two themes I think will dominate in the coming years.
And what's interesting too is you have kind of this back-end innovation, which we're seeing obviously explode with data, semiconductor, AI infrastructure. A lot of companies talk about that. That's impacting every vertical, whether it's marketing. Every single company has transformation. They're infusing AI, as they say. And then you got the user experience. So, when ChatGPT came out and DeepSeek recently, you see two kind of spectrums. The ChatGPT was kind of like the moment where everyone went crazy, and you had two schools of thought there. It's the web moment. It feels like the web. That's kind of an infrastructure piece, web pages, all that stuff. And then on the iPhone side, you had an iPhone moment. People were like, oh, it's like the iPhone because it's a user experience. So you got the back end and front end innovation happening very, very fast. And this has taken a lot of people back because, like, depending on where you look at it, it's different, right? So if I'm an AI person, I'm like, infrastructure, cloud native, I can clean up all that stuff with automation. On the front end where CMOs are landing, they're like, how do I use this? But I have all this MarTech stuff. I got all this stuff I built, all these mechanisms. So the user experience has changed. Tell us your vision on this, because I think this is where CMOs kind of maybe cross over or don't. If they don't get that right.
You nailed it. I mean, it's kind of interesting. This may, in fact, be exactly as you said, two inflection points happening at the same time, where over the last decade, a lot of CMOs, when I talk to them, they say, we have invested in these massive amounts of data infrastructure, CDPs, customer understanding, data lakes, all the infrastructure we were talking about earlier. And they have all this amazing insight about their customers and their brand, but then they don't know how to actually use that to tell better stories and actually engage at the experience layer. And so I think what AI and these models are for the first time doing is there is an architecture shift on the back end with large models, but there is a fundamental experience shift that you can deliver. And so, one of the interesting things I hear from CMOs is this is the stat in some ways why Typeface exists, which is today, most companies, if you look across the globe, they spend 100 billion plus in their marketing content spend. Yet less than a third of CMOs actually say they are actually happy with the level of personalization they can deliver. And so the holy grail has always been this notion of hyper-personalization across channels. And to me right now, it's exactly as you said, the infrastructure has been laid down. Now for most CMOs, can you deliver workflows, whether it's how you run your email marketing, how you run your social campaigns, how you run your e-commerce, if you can create these contextual AI workflows. And that's kind of going to be the next holy grail, is application level change, not just these powerful models and not just a ChatGPT UI or a chain of thought reasoning that DeepSeek enables, which is a fundamental breakthrough, but bring it to me in my business. That's the context.
The human in the loop has always been that. It's not become, almost, I won't say almost cliche because it's still relevant, but you're starting to see that you got to drive the AI. And I think marketers are in that camp of, we're only as good as what we do with things.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's coming out of this trend, I want to get into why the origination story happened with you guys, because I think this is such a perfect opportunity for this, is that you got, okay, SaaS disrupted the perpetual license software model, shrink wrap, whatever you want to call it. Now we're in an era where you got cloud scale and AI. So during the early days of cloud, you were born in the cloud. No-name companies like Dropbox, Airbnb, they're now winning. Now you got a born in the AI situation where if you're born in AI, you have all this advantage. And so the pricing there seems to be usage. So you got service as software. So I think CMOs are going to be in this world of, well, we built all this lead gen, email marketing stuff, when actually real-time engagement's happening in these organic, call it the internet. So I think you start to see people go, okay, now how do I do that? What's your perspective on this? Because I think this is a key point that's coming out of the conversation here is we can actually get things done that we never could have done before.
Yeah. I think that's exactly the point, where it's not just about better automation or kind of, yes, I mean, cloud in some ways, move to the cloud was around efficiency and productivity by moving workflows, consolidation, which by the way was important. But now it's exactly about what are the core value drivers, where how do I drive better engagement with my customers? And just having a better email system that can just pump 20 million emails, but if they're not personalized and if they're not on message, am I really actually engaging my customer base? Or if it's on social, I have all this proliferation of platforms, but it's not just about dumping the same creative and the same message, because then the line between what's spam versus what's highly tailored deliver moment of engagement, we have all experienced. Like you and I, we all have, like when Spotify or Netflix recommends something extremely relevant, the line between what's considered a bad ad and spam to what's highly relevant piece of content can become a moment of engagement. So for CMOs, what we are seeing is two primary vectors emerge with AI. One, can you for the first time establish a new brand memory and a brand system of record, where everything to do with my brand, can I ingest into this AI-powered database, if you will, and it learns and it becomes a living, breathing system of record for my brand. By the way, they have never had that. You have had data lakes, you have had systems like Snowflake, Databricks, amazing technologies, but now you can do the same on the content side. One thing we believe at Typeface, every company within the next 5 years is going to want a system of record for their brand. Like today, they have system of record for their data and kind of data lakes. So marketers should really be thinking about what is going to be this constantly evolving learning brand system. That's number one. And number two is, can I, like you said, reimagine my workflows for email, for social, for web, where it's not just a dumb pipe of automation, but actually an AI-powered system.
Abhay, you've been around big companies, you've been in the industry for a while. One of the things I want to get your thoughts on is that the value, right? The value proposition of marketing is you get the message out there, deliver it to the customer, and they engage and something happens, a transaction, whether it's a lead or prospect, you're nurturing, whatever's happening, they have all that down. With AI, one of the things that's coming out of our conversations is that you're either producing AI or consuming AI, and marketers seem to be a good consumer of AI, but one of the things that people are talking about is what's the IP? And what's coming out of some of the most successful use cases that we're seeing is if you have workflows and data, that is intellectual property. And so what's happened is CMOs are actually sitting on IP. Not so much the mechanism, I bought a service, I got this MarTech, I keep on hammering the MarTech stack like a piñata, but not that that's bad, you can abstract that away. So AI can actually learn that. You start to see things that are hard to do be abstracted away. What's your thoughts on this? Because IP is the workflows and the data.
I think, and that's going to be the holy grail. I mean, especially for your audience here, I think one of the things, will AI drive some productivity and efficiency gains? Absolutely it will, and that's great. And I think that's almost a low-hanging fruit of first level of AI adoption. But to your point, the way we see it, CMO should really be viewing their role going forward with AI. There is some genuine fear around, hey, what jobs will it replace and stuff. And I think with every inflection point with technology, there is always fear, and I think we'll work through that. What's exciting with AI is, to your point, they can actually transform their role into much more strategic players at the business level, because now I can unlock the IP and data that's embedded in my brand. And you said earlier, what's the role of MarTech? Historically, it has been very transactional. Just send more emails, send more web pages. Now, actually, it will become better storytellers. And I think every CMO I talk to, nobody wants to be known as the email machine delivery. They want to actually be better ideation, better creativity, better campaigns. And so the thing we are seeing with AI, is ideation and creative campaign development will become one of the better unlocks for marketers rather than just programmatic dump.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, one of the things that I would say is, you know, leads are easy. Lead gen marketing with email marketing is easy to point at because one, users aren't really using lead emails much. You're seeing Slack and other touch points. So you have this lagging factor. Where are the leads? How good are they? It's usually 6 months after, right? So there's no real time. Dashboards, which are popular in marketing, are also kind of a rear view mirror too. So, okay, that's good if you don't have a time constraint. Okay, how are we doing in sales in this region? Okay, I get that. Dashboards are great. Real time is huge, right? And you're in the area where you're enabling marketers to do things differently to be faster. Talk about the real time aspect and how that data driven philosophy extends.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of examples in some ways. One of the largest Fortune 100 grocers is working with us, and one of their challenges was they have 20+ million subscribers, and today they send pretty much the same email, even though they have incredible amount of data, to your point, of the exact purchase history, what customers buy in their stores. And so what they decided to do with Typeface is, can I deeply personalize in real time? That when I'm sending an email at Thanksgiving, if John is actually a vegetarian and Abhay is actually only eats seafood, then why am I sending emails with turkey images and blasting them? And so can I personalize in real time at scale? Because what they realized is the click-through and open rates on emails can directly actually attribute to top-line growth. And so this is an example where real-time personalizing of their campaigns using the data they already had. So this is not like we are enabling new data, it's their data. But that's example. Or one of the things we're seeing, one of the largest telecom companies, what they're doing with us is culturalizing the offers they make with different income demographics, different markets, where if I can tailor the offers I send, then I can drive a lot more conversion.
You know, one of the things that we always riff on theCUBE is we always compare kind of like things we know. Like SRE is a term that Google uses, site reliability engineering. But basically what that was, as you know, it's basically one person manages a fleet of servers. When it used to be a bunch of people managing smaller sets of servers, that created huge efficiencies. Marketing operators are now, you're starting to see, to your point about the roles changing, they don't go away, they just shift. So I want to get your vision on how you see marketers. Are they going to become operators, managing buttons, pulling levers? Because, you know, even for the past decade, more channels of customer channels are out there. Omni-channel has been a big thing. But now it's multiple channels, multiple interfaces, a lot more surface area where people can touch the same thing multiple times. So yeah, the back end has to flex on that, but then the front end can be tailored. This is where AI, I think, could shine. What's your perspective on that?
I think this is probably, John, one of the most under kind of appreciated stories of AI, which is the change management that companies have to and CMOs have to focus on. I mean, we are a technology provider, but I always like to say it's not actually all about technology. In many ways, it's actually more about being thoughtful about the roles and evolution and the change management you're going to have to go through. I would say two things we are seeing. One, on your question around operators, I actually think AI and especially AI agents will take on more and more the programmatic automation aspects of managing across every channel, every touch point, every region, what used to be very mundane, as you were saying. And no marketer I have met actually says, I love sitting there and hitting send on a bunch of email campaigns. They don't want to do that. Their role is actually going to evolve to be much more of a better ideators, better creatives around, can I come up with a better, cool campaign? I mean, we are just kind of coming on kind of this discussion right on the back of Super Bowl. And if you all of us have this, can every brand aspire to create a Apple Think Different campaign? And why not? Because now every creator and every marketer can do more of those ideation jobs rather than more operator jobs.
It's interesting. We've all gotten emails that said, "Dear first name, last name," with you can tell it was an insertion into some sort of email system. So we know the flaws. The one thing that I want to get your thoughts on is because now you're starting to see this campaign strategy shift to being end-to-end and more holistic. For example, marketing tends to be metric driven. How many people opened? How many people clicked? Now you're seeing, you can spend something to get something, some impact, but then you can create a trajectory where it's light touches, but you can serve user experience, nurture that over, and it might not be obvious, but in the totality in the aggregate, it's better. What do you see there? Are CMOs thinking like this? Are people thinking, okay, how do I engage once I inject a campaign? You could actually run an agent on that maybe.
And that's exactly, we are seeing two things. And by the way, CMOs, the thought leading CMOs are absolutely starting to think like that, where we're seeing two trends. One, what we call going beyond the prompt. Like the first year of ChatGPT, everyone was excited, but very quickly most marketers realize they don't want to become prompt engineers. Nobody wakes up and says, let me write better prompts. So what we are seeing, and actually we have a product called Arc, does this, which is let marketers describe their goals at a business level. What are you trying to achieve, your campaign? And the AI and agents will just assist you in doing a multi-step choreography, as you said. So that's kind of one change we see in the coming year, is move away from prompts to these multi-step choreographies for marketing. But the second is what you said, is closed loop optimization. Where can I bring the data? They have a ton of data, how their analytics campaigns are performing, how their emails are performing. Can you bring that and tailor the campaign creation using AI? And so I think that closed loop is going to be a very big deal.
You know, one thing we're seeing, I want to get your reaction to this, is that we're seeing a lot of firsts in this AI kind of wave, which is marketers are not used to seeing success often in terms of like in their face. So one thing we're seeing is in organic engagement where the new platforms are getting users that are targeted. It's like a watering hole. People are like hanging around their peer groups or whatever, communities. When engagement happens, they don't know what to do next. It's like, it's happened. Oh my God, how do I roll up those into, and then understand, is that actually a lead or is that more of a discovery? So there's all kinds of multiple dimensions of success once content's deployed. And content marketing tends to be kind of like categorically, and then they look the other way, it's just happening, it's not really cool or relevant. But when impact happens, how do you see that rolling up? How do you see AI solving that problem? Because now you have what you want happened. But you can continue.
How do you actually programmatically act on it? I think there are two changes I see with this. And you guys actually are a great example, you do this, which is the speed with which you can respond when that kind of an engagement moment happens. Whether it happens in a video going viral on YouTube or something for your brand, or you have a blog post that's starting to get a lot of attention, or this event, you guys are getting amazing engagement. But when that happens on digital kind of canvas, how do you capitalize on that moment? One of the challenges CMOs had before is even when they know such a moment has happened, the amount of time it takes to then mobilize, because you have a lot of manual agency workflows, manual content creation, and it was very prohibitive on cost. AI is actually going to let CMOs react in the moment. When something happens, I can quickly mobilize these multiple multi-channel agents and apply a strategy. So I would say speed is one thing you're going to see. Every CMO is now going to have ability to react in the moment, that real time that you were talking about. But the other is use data to actually feed a flywheel, where can I create better content based on what's working?
You know, I love the flywheel example. In fact, what pops in my head when you say that is that if you look at the history of digital, whether it's search or whatever, context and behavioral, contextual and behavioral, the two things that go on.
Drive flywheel,
Context is everything. So once you get that context, did it work? What are they reacting to? Who am I talking to? That's complicated.
And by the way, if you look at it, all of us have experienced this as consumers. What Google nailed, or what Facebook and like these big consumer platforms had that context and that flywheel, but just within their app. Now imagine as a CMO, every company on the planet, every brand, if they could create that flywheel within their own content and their own kind of a audience data, that's going to be incredibly powerful.
CMOs are watching, people are leaning in, you're starting to see structural change in organizations. And that's always, you know, when you affect change, you got to kind of incubate it and then kind of roll it out. CMOs fall into two camps, ones that are more mechanism oriented, demand gen, lead gen, they tend to be more programmatic. And then you're seeing a lot more leaning into more, hey, this is the customer. So the role of endorsing either the CEO involvement, CFO, depending on what area you're in, it could be the CISO, but that kind of coalition structurally in the organization is going through change. What's your view on that? Because as people try to figure out how to organize, like whether all comms, AR and IR are under one bucket or whatever, I mean, you got to figure out how to configure your resource to be AI ready. How would you answer that question?
I do think this is one of the things that's exciting right now, just kind of a couple of years in since the ChatGPT moment. The early CMO interactions we were seeing was, hey, this AI thing is cool, let's do some pilot, let's try something out. Within the last 9 months or so, John, what I've seen is, at least for our business, some of the biggest enterprises, these are like Fortune 100 brands, they are now saying, CMOs are saying, no, this is a mission critical capability. And like you said, they are starting to say, it's not enough to apply AI just for programmatic part of my business. I need to really think of AI as a differentiator in better ideation, better campaign development, better creative process. I actually think CMOs that view AI as a strategic enabler rather than just a cost efficiency driver, which it will be actually, no doubt. They are going to become more strategic thought partners for their CEOs and their CFOs. So in fact, the role of CMO is going to dramatically change with AI to be more upstream storyteller for the brand and company than just run bunch of demand gen campaigns for my business.
You can get both of the cost, drive costs down for certain. That's easy.
Yeah.
Content, copy, mundane stuff. But the profit side, which is the top line, is okay. How do I get customer sales? Or
that's what we are seeing. CMOs who are focusing on that with AI suddenly have an elevated seat at the table.
Yeah, you guys got a great opportunity. I want to talk about the origination story. How did this all come together? You guys doing extremely well. CMOs love your product. You guys are doing extremely well in the market. What was the origination? You're sitting around, you were at Adobe, hey, maybe this could happen. Well, I mean, taking me through how this all came together and how do you feel right now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as you can tell, you can't right now complain about the moment we all find ourselves in. There's so much exciting stuff happening. It feels like a once in a decade, if not once in a career. And I've been fortunate, as you said, I was at Adobe, amazing company, really went through the cloud transformation. They kind of were beneficiaries and really seized that. It certainly feels like at least as big, if not bigger, another shift like that with AI. So first, I think we are at an incredible time as an industry, and I think Typeface is certainly benefiting from, in some ways, right place, right time. We have a product that seems to resonate with customers, so we are excited. Lots to do, but we are at an exciting time. I think the origination story, John, was very simple. I mean, I was talking to a lot of CMOs and CTOs at some of the biggest companies, and they were basically saying kind of the same thing, which is, hey, with the shift to the cloud, with shift to data, I have this amazing data lake. I have lots of data about my customers and brand. And that's all great, but I still can't actually tell better stories. I can't engage in a meaningful way at the speed that I want. You and I were talking about your own kind of business, and that's a story we were kind of hearing. And so the origination was very simple. Can we fundamentally help companies rethink their entire content lifecycle from ideation to personalization to delivery to measurement? And if we can, this will be the exciting next chapter.
Yeah, I mean, speed wins, but you got to be relevant on target.
And it's personalization.
Hyper-personalization is clearly obvious to everybody, but the question is, how do we get there? So I have to ask you, I'm sold, I love what you guys do. How do I engage? I'm a customer. How are you engaging with customers? Why are you winning? What are some of the things that moves the needle on getting business? How do I consume the product? How do I integrate Typeface into my organization?
I would say whether it's Typeface or any other solution to CMOs, one of the things I always say is focus on two things. First, we have something we call kind of Gen AI maturity model, where chart out a multi-step story, which is where are you going to start with some targeted ROI use cases. By the way, it's very easy, and you and I have both seen this with mobile, with cloud. It's very easy to get carried away and like, let's just put an app out there on App Store, and before you know it, nothing comes out of it. So you can be very quickly disappointed even with AI. So one, having very targeted use case ROI view, and so having a multi-stage view of how AI is going to deploy. And so we have a maturity model. We engage with some of the biggest brands, identify here and now. Within 90 days or 180 days, you get some real ROI with AI. And then you can build on those wins within your organization. But the second I would say is don't underestimate the challenges of change management. I think the change management within your organizations, what we often find is CEOs, CMOs, board are all excited about AI. But the practitioners are really nervous. They are either like, hey, is this going to replace my job? If I deploy this tool in the company in a year, is the AI just going to do everything I do? And so helping your practitioners in marketing say, no, in fact, you are actually going to be free to do a better job. You are actually going to become more of a strategic ideator or creator rather than just running campaigns. And so those two CMOs should not underestimate the change management and a multi-stage journey.
And I consume you via cloud?
Yeah, we are a cloud SaaS application. You actually engage with us like any other. You start, it's a consumption value based. By the way, you earlier said pricing models will change. I do think one thing AI is going to do is shift away from even the classic SaaS per seat. Some businesses will stay like that. I actually think most businesses, at least in the business we are in, will get to value-based consumptive pricing, which is, if you're going to help me deliver this much ROI in my business, then I am actually happy to pay for that outcome.
What are some of the examples that can you share with customers that are kind of going down this road? Give some examples.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are quite a few. I think as you can imagine, we serve some of the biggest enterprise clients. So there's obviously sensitivities. They actually, by the way, correctly view this as a strategic differentiation and advantage if they get it right. But we are working with, for example, some of the biggest CPG and retail companies where a lot of use cases we are seeing around email personalization, where email has kind of gone down in its effectiveness. As you said, we all get those standard replace the name and email for buying the product that you've already bought 2 years ago. Like, why are you sending me that email? So we are seeing email personalization as one of the early winners of AI, number one. Number two, really personalizing your web content, whether it's e-commerce, landing pages, and then culturalization and localization across different markets, different product categories is emerging with some of the biggest telecom, B2B companies are using us for that.
Great, awesome. Well, I'm super psyched that you came on. For the last minute we have left, give a plug for the company. What do you guys got on the agenda for the year? What's your plan? Folks watching, give the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think for us, as I said, we are super excited to be at this incredible juncture. For us, there are two priorities right now. One, some of the biggest customers who have bet on us and continue to bet on us is really staying laser focused on letting them extract, deliver value out of AI. Because John, I think you have seen this movie before. AI will go through its inevitable hype and bust cycle. We want to make sure we are delivering real value for customers. So one, for us, scaling our go-to-market, scaling our customer success, and really staying laser focused is one priority. But the other one is with agents and some of the incredible technical breakthroughs that are coming. We have some cool stuff actually lined up in next kind of couple of months where we are going to do a step function change with our product. And so I think you will see every company, including Typeface, push the limits of innovation in this space.
If you have the workflows, you got the data, that's the IP, the breakthroughs are gettable. Abhay, thanks for coming on and sharing your vision. Of course, you're in the right spot right now with AI. You're on the AI wave. Congratulations.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
All right. I'm John Furrier here at theCUBE. We're at Palo Alto for the CMO Leaders Summit. theCUBE and NYSE Wired, bringing you all the action here. Thanks for watching.